answer to that.
Say that again.
You've said in the Sohbats to ask ourselves these simple questions about why we believe what we believe, and to come with real answers, and to think about that. I've been trying with that, and from my experience, it's a very humbling experience, because you realize there's so much fakeness there, and then trying to see how to get rid of that, or where that's coming from, or be sincere. So when we find that fakeness, or that we're hiding behind words or things that we heard but that we didn't experience, with these simple questions that are fundamental, how do we move out of that and come into being real, out of that fakeness?
What kind of questions for some who did not experience that, who are not here to witness it? What kind of questions? And what kind of answers you came up with that you say it is fake?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Why do I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why do I believe in Islam? Why do I believe in Holy Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam? Why do I believe in tasawwuf? Why do I believe in this way? Why do I believe in this shaykh? And those kinds of things, those kinds of questions.
Okay. And why do you think the answers that you give are fake?
Bismillah, the first answers when I was starting, it was just things that aren't coming from me, but things that I read, or things that I've been taught. I believe in Allah because, more or less, because that's what the Quran says, but then it's, well, why do you believe in the Quran? It's not, it gets more real when we come to why do I believe in the Shaykh, because that's something that we have a experience, and it's not far. It's not so far. And then you said something in the Sohbats many times. You said, we depend. You said I depend on the faith of my Shaykh. And then that was more, I don't want to say comforting, but when I could come to that answer and I said, I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because that's what my Shaykh believes, that felt less fake. And that was less scary.
What is missing here? I mean, you're going to get in a lot of trouble with the answers that you just gave, by the way. It doesn't mean it like that. Okay, this is private tasawwuf understanding. What is missing in that is what? There's something missing in that, in your whole exchange. There's something very important that is missing. You don't know? You have the question, yes? And you have the person giving the answer. Just you.
Right.
You ask the question. You ask the question, right? Mm-hmm. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Okay. You ask the question. It's not you ask the question to yourself now. But don't ask the question to yourself. The answer that you give is always according to the person who asks the question. You are trying to answer this in a vacuum, to yourself. Yes, to yourself. If you say, I want to give an answer to myself, that's a different situation. If you ask a question to yourself, do I believe in Allah? You may say, yes, I believe in Allah. I believe in this, I believe in that. But, according to the ways of deep into tasawwuf, if you have not experienced that, then our belief in Allah is very weak. And we may even say that our belief now, it is not strong. Our belief now, it is fake. If our belief in Allah is real, then we will be obedient ones. We will be obedient to His Prophet ﷺ. Only people who are having a true belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we will say, and this is tasawwuf answer. Only people have true belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His prophets, yes, and His awliyas, those who represent the prophets. Everyone else is doing what?
Imitation.
Say that again. Everyone else is doing what?
Imitation.
Imitation. Imitation. Taqlid. Correct? We're not saying what is right and wrong. This definition of taqlid, it is something that even the faqih are putting forth to say this is what we are. People who are people of fiqh. Is imitating acceptable? Yes, imitating is acceptable. But is imitating the same as being real? No, it's not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with His mercy, and the Prophet ﷺ with His mercy, is saying, even if you imitate, you don't really mean it, you don't understand it, it's still okay. But those who experience it, who have what is called certainty, now that is different. So that's why we talk about the Anbiyas and the Awliyas, Salihins, connected to that, of course. And whoever that Allah chooses. So, you must fit your answer to whoever who is asking. If the person who is asking is coming from this level, you cannot speak from this level. You cannot speak from this level. You cannot speak from here. You have to speak from this level so that he understands. What is missing in that is, I said, ask simple question that even a child can understand. That is important. A child. Not just to ask simple questions. If a child asks you the question, 5-year-old child, what is Allah? Where is He? You must explain in a way that the child can understand. You cannot just talk this and talk about this and bring this proof. And you must talk in a language that he understands. But you can only do that if you believe. And the way that you believe, it is able to fit into every station that people are asking you from. You have explained this to yourself. You know. So that when the question is asked to you, who is your Lord? In your grave, who is your Lord? You will be able to answer. That question, who is your Lord? The questioner is not a 7-year-old child. That is an angel. Yes? I ask you. You are going to answer from what? From what you're going to answer? Whose knowledge are you going to answer? Whose knowledge? Your own knowledge. Your own book. That time, you are not able to say, you will not be able to say, Allah is my Lord. Because whatever that you put in your heart that time, in reality that one is, whatever you put in your heart is your Lord, you will say. So if you start worshipping other things, if you start worshipping yourself, or your intelligence, then you will say, whatever that you're concentrating on in this world, although you are praying, you're doing everything, but you are doing it for other than Allah. You're doing it for people. Then you're going to answer according to that, from that book, straight. So now you're asking the question, you're saying I come up with all these answers and it's difficult. But the important thing is you must know who is asking. An unbeliever is going to ask you the question. You must be able to answer that the way that you believe, to fit into that category where he can understand. The unbeliever who does not understand Allah, does not accept, but he's curious why you are, then you must explain in the language that he understands. You must explain the language that the child understands. You must be able to explain it from the language of someone who says, Allah is everywhere and everything. You must speak why it is so. Or someone who's saying he's 3 in 1, 1 in 3. Then you must be able to understand that and explain why that is so, according to that. So again, it's not about the answer that you have to give. It is about answering the person who asks the question. Okay? You asking the question for yourself, by yourself, that is the most difficult. Yes, it's true. Now you cannot hide. Then that question, that answer to that question to yourself, by yourself, then that is according to the level of how we are as people who are following this path. You may even say, what kind of, I cannot rely on my belief. The one who is a real believer is not going to say, no, I believe, I pray, I fast, I do this. The real believer is not going to have pride in that or full confidence in that. He's going to say, Astaghfirullah. Like a beggar who has nothing, I cannot claim to have anything in my faith too. I cannot claim that. The more you're trying to be down, more Allah will raise you and open up new knowledges to you. The more that you're trying to be zero, that's the time Allah will fill up that zero. But the more you claim that you know something, then that time Allah will test you. So, now let's talk about the one who questions. If somebody asks you, why do you believe in Allah? And when I ask you those things, it's not because of an exercise, a philosophical exercise. It's not at all. It's not for you to think and to meditate on it. And it's not. It really is if somebody asks you, how are you going to say? Some person who is like interested in Islam but doesn't know anything about it, how are you going to speak to this person? Are you going to be like one of those guys standing on a soapbox and preaching to other people and this and this? Or you're going to discover who is it who is speaking, and you're going to discover where is he speaking from his heart, and you're going to try to enter into his heart. As we always say, as Shaykh and he says, as Maulana says, when you're with children, talk about toys. How can you? Now, this is the thing. This is when you know whatever answer that you have from before, as you understand, cannot fit into this. So now you have to break this down to make it fit. How are you going to say it to a person who doesn't even believe in Quran, doesn't believe in any holy book? To start, you quote from the Quran, he doesn't believe in it. You quote from ayats, he doesn't believe in it. What does he believe? What kind of language? How does he hear? You must try to find a way. Otherwise, Islam would not have spread. But because the people who spread Islam, they knew the people there and they were able to speak in their language and they accepted it. They say Islam is spread by the sword. You can only go so far with the sword. After 1-2 generations, the people say, we don't believe, we were forced, and they will rebel. It didn't happen 1,400 years. So, we should try to understand this a little bit. As they say, to understand that you don't understand, that is the first step to knowledge. Where you say, I don't understand. Whatever that is spoken to me about, I don't understand. Then Allah will send you another teacher that will take you to a higher level of understanding. Inshallah. ومن الله التوفيق والفتح.